Scarlet Vendimion was known throughout the kingdom as a beautiful and refined noblewoman, elegant in manner, flawless in appearance, and destined to become a queen. Since childhood, she had been engaged to Prince Kyle, the second prince of the realm, and everyone believed their union would bring honor to both houses. Yet behind her calm smile was a young woman who had been forced to endure years of humiliation and cruelty. She obeyed, smiled, and played the role expected of her. But one day in the grand hall before the entire court, everything changed. The prince who had been her fiancé for 17 years shattered their engagement and replaced her with another woman, and that moment changed everything. The story begins in the grand hall, where every gaze was fixed on one young woman, Scarlet Vendimion. With calm composure, she looked at Prince Kyle and asked him to repeat what he had just said. The prince, standing tall with a confident smirk, said that he would gladly repeat it as many times as she wished. Then, before the entire court, he declared that their engagement was officially over and that from that day forward, his fiancée would be none other than Terranezza. Instantly, the hall erupted in applause. The nobles clapped and cheered, calling the new couple beautiful and wishing them happiness. Terranezza curtsied gracefully, announcing that she was now the prince's fiancée and would dedicate her life to his joy. Kyle praised her kindness, claiming she was gentle and pure, the complete opposite of Scarlet, whom he now mocked as cold-hearted and unworthy. He said he regretted wasting 17 years bound to someone he called a disgrace, a mad woman who had ruined his life. Scarlet, however, stayed composed. She reminded him that their engagement had been arranged between the royal family and her house, Vamion, long before either of them was even born, and she asked if he really believed he could end it on a whim. Kyle simply smiled and replied that he could. He claimed that Terranezza had told him the truth, that Scarlet had bullied her at the academy out of jealousy and cruelty. Scarlet blinked in disbelief and calmly answered that she did not recall any such incidents and, in fact, had never even met Terranezza before that day. Kyle took her denial as arrogance. His voice rose, filled with anger, as he accused her of tearing Terranezza's notebook in class, locking her in a bathroom, spreading rumors, and even pushing her down the stairs. The court gasped. Scarlet could feel every stare burn into her. After a pause, she simply nodded and said that if this was how he saw things, then she accepted his decision to end the engagement. Kyle sneered, saying that she was only pretending to stay calm, that she was broken inside, and that the role of villainess suited her perfectly. Scarlet looked down for a moment, then lifted her eyes, steady and clear. She said that if everyone wished to see her as a villain, then she had no reason to restrain herself any longer. Still, she asked for one last request before leaving. Kyle scoffed, demanding how she dared to ask for anything more. But Terranezza, acting the part of a saint, gently said that it would not hurt to grant a final wish. Amused, Kyle agreed, saying that Scarlet could have anything she wanted, gold, jewels, a farewell gift. But Scarlet refused them all. Her final wish, she said, was to strike the witch who had taken everything from her. Before anyone could stop her, she acted. Scarlet's fist connected with Terranezza's face, and the hall froze as Terranezza collapsed, blood trickling from her lip. In that instant, Scarlet herself was shocked. She did not understand why she had lost control so suddenly, why she was so furious. Of course, she was angry at the lies and humiliation, but as she stood there trembling, she realized it was something deeper. Her mind flashed back to her childhood, to her brother Leo scolding her after yet another fight. He had reminded her that it had only been a week since she beat up a boy from House Alexia, and now she had struck another. Even though he knew she had been defending a commoner, he told her that her debut ball was approaching, and she needed to control her temper. Scarlet had insisted she had acted with reason. But Leo had looked at her almost sadly and said that when he arrived, she had looked pleased, her hands bloody, her eyes bright. It made her wonder even then if somewhere inside she had enjoyed it. Not long after, the night of her debut ball arrived. Scarlet sat alone, isolated from the crowd, when a young man approached her. He introduced himself as Prince Kyle, the second prince of the realm, and told her that she did not need such formality because from that day on, she would belong to him. That was how their long, miserable engagement began. From that day forward, Scarlet's life became one of endurance. Kyle took pleasure in humiliating her in public and mocking her every move. When she went to her father, begging for the engagement to be cancelled, her father only apologized and said that the royal family's will could not be denied. So Scarlet endured until she entered the Royal Academy at 15. There her talents shone, her beauty, intellect, and elegance made her admired by all. She ranked first in every exam. But then Kyle appeared again, mocking her and saying her father only sent her there to serve him. It was then she decided to grow stronger, to build steel within her heart. One day, as she was about to join her friends for lunch, Kyle appeared again, furious that she was not attending to him. He grabbed her by the shirt in front of everyone. Scarlet tried to explain, but he accused her of disrespect. When she apologized, he mocked her sincerity and dragged her away to punish her. Outside, he pulled out a dagger, threatening to cut her silver hair, her family's pride. Scarlet warned him that her father would hear of this and that he would be punished. But Kyle only laughed, saying that her father would never defy his father and that her engagement would last only as long as he allowed it. Scarlet clenched her fists, ready to fight. But before things went further, a calm yet firm voice interrupted them, telling them to take their fight somewhere else. A young man dropped down from a tree, Prince Julius, Kyle's older brother, and the first prince. He scolded Kyle, saying that his behavior explained why he was stuck in the lower curriculum. Kyle was furious, but Julius stood his ground, apologizing to Scarlet for his brother's cruelty and warning Kyle that if he continued, he would intervene personally. When Kyle tried to order his attendant to remove Julius, the man refused, unable to act against the first prince. Kyle stormed off, humiliated. Afterward, Scarlet thanked Julius. He told her that he was not sure whether he had saved her or Kyle, because she had clearly been ready to strike. Then Scarlet asked Julius why he was reading up in a tree instead of inside like everyone else. Julius just smiled and said he preferred being alone, away from all the noise and distractions of court life. Now the kingdom of Palicin had two princes, Julius, the first and rightful heir, calm, brilliant, and admired by many, yet quietly resented by nobles who thought his influence held them back. And then there was Kyle, the second prince, supported by a rival faction hungry for more power. Students often clashed between the two sides, though Scarlet, being ever composed, stayed out of those petty rivalries. But soon things between Scarlet and Julius began to change. Julius told her that he didn't mind spending more time in class anymore because he had found something interesting. That something, he said, was Scarlet herself. He told her she was more captivating than any book he had ever read. Scarlet found that irritating, thinking he was just another troublemaker trying to get on her nerves. Then came the results of the next examination, and this time Julius had taken first place, pushing Scarlet to second. The students were shocked. Scarlet had always been number one. Curious, she noticed Julius had perfect scores in both magic and swordsmanship, the kind of marks she herself had never been given. When she congratulated him, Julius replied with effortless confidence, saying first place hadn't been that hard to get. That stung, so Scarlet decided to take it as a challenge. She trained harder than ever, and during the next exam, she reclaimed her top spot. Julius congratulated her warmly, even resting a hand on her head, saying he'd enjoyed watching her work so hard. Her friends teased her, wondering if Julius had let her win just to see her reaction. Scarlet dismissed the thought, determined not to be affected by him again. But soon Julius kept showing up, greeting her in the halls, appearing in the library, always somehow crossing paths. Scarlet began to wonder if he was doing it on purpose, though he insisted it was just coincidence. He said he enjoyed seeing the way her emotions played across her face, claiming she was terrible at hiding what she felt. Scarlet scolded him for being rude. Still, Julius didn't stop. He complimented her silver hair, saying it was too beautiful for anyone to harm. Then, with that same calm tone, he said she was unlike anyone he'd ever met, and even pulled out a book with her likeness sketched inside, saying she was one of the most interesting figures his brother had ever told him about. Finally, he went as far as offering to replace Kyle as her fiancé, promising to treat her better. Scarlet politely declined, but deep down, her frustration toward both princes was beginning to grow. Then time moved forward, and we returned to the grand hall, the present moment. Scarlet stands tall, thanking Tereneza for giving her the final reason she needed, and then without hesitation she strikes. Tereneza collapses, blood spilling from her lips. Prince Kyle rushes to her side in shock, shouting at Scarlet, demanding to know what she's done. Scarlet simply answers that she lost control, that she hit Tereneza because she was angry. Is that a problem? She asks coldly, stepping forward as the nobles watch in stunned horror. Inside, she reminds herself of the years she endured, the humiliation, the gossip, the cruelty, all because of her engagement to Kyle. But now, finally, she's free to act. A nobleman calls her insane and orders the guards to seize her. Yet before they can even move, Scarlet casts a sleeping spell, and they all collapse instantly. Panic spreads through the hall. Another noble shouts an offer, his daughter's hand in marriage to whoever can subdue her. Scarlet knocks him down without hesitation. Someone else begs for mercy, but she strikes him too. As she looks around at the terrified crowd, she realizes these nobles have lived their whole lives in corruption and greed. Seeing their downfall fills her with grim satisfaction. Then with a sharp grin, she channels her magic, increases her speed, and declares that they should dance. What follows is chaos, a storm of motion and power. Scarlet punches through every noble who dares to move against her. Some whisper old rumors about a mad dog noblewoman, and Scarlet realizes with bitter amusement that those tales might well have been about her. Still, she doesn't stop. When the hall finally falls silent, littered with the fallen, Scarlet straightens herself and murmurs that it's a fine evening. Turning to Prince Kyle, she smiles coldly and proposes one last dance. asking if he'll lead this time. Kyle can't move. He's frozen with fear. Scarlet raises her fist, but before she can strike, her brother Leo bursts in, shouting for her to stop. And then, before he can reach her, Scarlet's fist flies. She punches Kyle straight across the hall, sending him crashing into the wall. The noise echoes through the stunned silence. In that moment, the nobles, once full of mockery and applause, see their arrogance crumble before them. The engagement is broken, and Scarlet, once the gentle, obedient fiancée, now stands in the wreckage, unbound, furious, and completely free. That marks the end of today's Anime Recap. If you enjoyed the video and want more of it, please support the channel by leaving a like and subscribe. Let's help us reach a current goal of 10K subscribers.